All right, welcome back to another episode of the Barcode Collective podcast. It's Jacob Saldana checking in from Pasadena, more specifically, the upstairs training loft at Spacebar Wellness. I got one of my good friends here, Anthony Woods, with me. We're going to hop on this mic. I get the pleasure of linking up with him every week in our men's group down in Orange County. And we're just going to chop it up. It's been a little while since we've been able to get on this mic and update people. So that's what we're doing today, man. How you doing?
Well, first and foremost, man, thanks for making the time to chill and talk with me a little bit.
Always.
You gave me the invitation, and I was elated to get up here. I know it's been a while since we got a chance to connect like this. But second, Nuncio. I don't know if you guys can see him, but Nuncio is big, man. He's a big part of what's going on right now, and I haven't seen him in a while, so I wanted to make sure Nuncio knows.
That's the man behind the camera.
Straight up.
That's one that's making these beautiful clips.
Yeah.
But before you even get started, why don't we just give him a plug? If anybody's looking to launch a podcast, needs a little help with what that structure looks like, my guy's got a lot of background in that, and he's looking to possibly do more. Yeah. So if you want to reach out, you like the way that this podcast sounds, looks, and feels, this might as well be you on this mic. So little plug. This episode's sponsored by Nuncio.
Hey. It's important that he knows that he's honored today. So before I get into that, I had to make sure Nuncio gets his love, give him his flowers. But I'm doing well, bro. I've been we were talking a little bit before we started rolling. I've been leaning into a lot of discomfort intentionally lately, and I've been feeling like, I've been getting into that flow state.
Yeah, you were talking about that flow state, and. Why don't you share a little story what that means to you? What does flow state even mean to you? And how does that change your day?
So to me, it's the feeling of being in this really, really euphoric, focused state where things are challenging enough, but fulfilling and successful enough, I guess, where you're getting pushed back enough to where you're going forward, but you're getting that positive reinforcement and that positive feedback loop where you're going forward more, where things are just in alignment, I guess I can say.
Yeah.
And so I feel really, really in alignment. I'm seeing these really dope numbers constantly. I'm not sure exactly what that means all the time. So I've been doing a little bit of research with some close friends to figure out exactly what those numbers mean, but dope things are happening. Some really, really exciting opportunities, having some really dope connections, man. And things like this are happening for me, bro, where I naturally wouldn't have the time during the week to unfortunately connect with you like this. And I do, and this is dope. It worked out. I had a really busy day and some crazy stuff that I couldn't really predict that began to happen. There's some hurdles earlier today. And I was able to get here.
We're here.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, in kind of the way you describe flow state, it sounds pretty similar to maybe good luck, I guess. But like it's not that kind of, where you're at right now. It doesn't come with its own challenges. Yeah. It does, but I think you have a level of confidence in pursuing these challenges and working through them that allows you to kind of keep pushing. And oftentimes I think you mentioned like just seeing these different signs, seeing these different numbers, and a lot of sometimes we think that the things that are happening for us are outside of us, right? When in reality, you just might be open at another level to receive some of these things. So people talk about good luck a lot of the times, right? And there's either lucky people or there's not lucky people. And I mean, there's been studies that kind of try to test that theory, and where they set up a little like this study that I heard about in particular was that they set up somebody who identifies as being a lucky individual, and then another person who identifies as being unlucky or not lucky. And they sent these people into a coffee shop, basically. And on the way into the coffee shop, they had put a $5 bill on the ground, right? So both of these two people walked by that $5 bill, or they had the option to see this $5 bill, right? The person who described himself as lucky had his head on a swivel, just kind of looking all around, saw the $5 bill, picked it up, came up $5. The person who deemed themselves as unlucky was in their head, not aware, not present of what's going on, walked right past the $5, right? Then they go and order at the register and they get whatever they get. And the people who put the study together set up kind of there's only one seat that was available in that cafe to go and sit at. So both of these people had to go sit in that, during this experiment, right? The person who deemed himself lucky, got his order, went and sat down at that seat. Next to him at that seat was a very successful entrepreneur who would have been a great connection, right? This guy who seemed to describe himself as lucky was open to starting a conversation with this person, chit-chatting it up, come to find out that this person can largely help him with the next step that he needs to take within his business. They exchange information. He's good. He's got a meeting on the books, right? Lucky, right? And then the person who deemed himself as unlucky, same thing, went and sat down, put his head down, mind his business, drank his coffee, missed opportunity right next to him. So this narrative that we're either lucky or unlucky largely isn't anything necessarily universal. There's nothing necessarily happening to you that is not happening to me. It's just internally you're either open or not. And some of the things that may lead to whether you're open or not is just the way you're feeling. Are you setting your day off with intention to put yourself in the right headspace in order to put yourself in a feeling of openness to receive a lot of that? 100%. So that's just probably what's happening with you right now. You're dialed in and, you're doing all the things that you need to do. Because I can pretty much guarantee you that some of the things that are flowing for you right now would not be flowing if you didn't have your morning routine that you followed every single day 100%, diligently.
100%.
So let's touch base on that, what that means to you, what your mornings look like. Because, as long as I've known you, it's been something that you made a non-negotiable. And I've been able to integrate my own process back within the past 2 months and literally game changer, absolute game changer. I'm talking about like pain that I've been dealing with since August of last year, gone type of shit, like a lot, but anywho, I digress. Tell me about your morning routine and why it's so important to you.
Yo, I love to hear that. I love to hear that, bro. That makes me happy. My heart's full for that. So my mornings are based on the basis of, it's really important that I give the people in my life the very best of me every day. That's something I hold myself very serious to. It's a non-negotiable to me. I love the people in my life. So it's important to me that I present the very best version of myself to those people. The way that I do that and the way that I accomplish that, or I make that the most likelihood or the most likely possibility for me, is to make my mornings extraordinarily selfish in that I fill my cup as soon as I possibly can. And so I have collected, a few processes to make sure that I'm efficient in doing that. Mm-hmm. First thing is I meditate as soon as I wake up, sit quietly. I allow whatever thoughts to come to my head. I allow them to come. I recognize what they are. I forgive myself for any types of feelings I may have. I recognize what's going on with myself, and I just let those things happen. I don't judge myself for these types of things. And I just sit with myself for a minute, and that's my way. And I don't have any training in the meditation process. So if anyone listening has any tips for me, please, I'm always a student, always willing to learn more. But in that, I shower, and I have a pretty specific way of showering and cleaning my body and cleaning myself, washing my face. And I shave my face a certain way every single morning. I have this like brush and this soap and this can of shaving cream. And anyone knows me, I don't have hardly any facial hair. I have no reason to shave every day, but
you might as well. You could just pluck it.
The shit, if I had a 5 o'clock shadow at 5 o'clock, I'd be happy about it. I just don't have any. I've shaved my face. I've shaved my mustache twice my entire life. I'm 37 years old.
I mean, I don't got much facial.
We can edit that though.
Mine started coming a little later in life, but yeah, my shit is subpar too.
Yeah, it's not even. I might be 36. I don't know how old I am. Anyways, so the shaving process for me represents a way of, first and foremost, I talk a lot and I touch my face a lot when I speak. And when I shave my face, it's a representation of washing away anything that's old, and representation of a brand new start, a fresh slate. And so I do that. I shave every day. I stretch every morning, and then I journal. And journaling is I call it a non-negotiable. There are days, obviously, that I forget, but the days that I forget are almost blessings because it's very apparent why journaling is so important for me. You know,
A little reminder, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, man, this is why I do this every day. So, I think our internal dialogue is instrumental in how we speak to ourselves and how we treat ourselves, and how we treat ourselves in turn is a reflection of how we treat other people, or vice versa. And usually, when you're able to love yourself and be accepting, caring, empathetic, and encouraging to yourself, you can be that for everyone around you. And those people listening, if you're having a difficult time being encouraging and being loving to people, might be a perfect opportunity to take a look at how you're treating yourself. But that's my way of getting a good idea of that. So I journal it a certain way. It's not necessarily formatic and flexible. It moves. It's a living document. It flows as it needs to flow. I change things as it needs to change. But and I also think that's important, bro. I think you introduced that idea to me, bro, of not being a slave to the process, right? Where the process should be beneficial. In the moment the process itself becomes so stressful to where it's not beneficial, then you need to change the process. And I've gotten to that point where it was so stagnant and it was so concrete that it almost made me feel like stressed out.
Yeah. I mean, because over time, I mean, I think a lot of, you mentioned, you've been kind of seeking some discomfort, and, that's a big topic of conversation with, myself and just like people around me. Is like, how do we continue to seek discomfort? And we put these things together in an effort to seek discomfort, but like anything else, we then become comfortable within those routines. So I wouldn't necessarily say tear that routine down, but you got to start, really taking inventory on some of those things. 'Cause you never want to become like too dependent on any particular, any particular thing, right? So
that's a beautiful concept, though, because I feel like, I mean, I'm someone who I find it personally very simple and easy for me to formulate a habit. I habituate. What's the word? I make things
habituate.
I habituate things very easily.
Yeah.
I tell myself, you know what, man, this is a good thing to do. I'm gonna start doing this, and I'll start doing it. But there are times where people become so dependent on the process that without that process, they're almost lost.
Right. It's like, and I think you said, giving yourself a little bit of grace and forgiveness of that. And that would be the perfect opportunity to do that, is like when you know that you feel amazing when you do X, Y, and Z in the morning. And then if you become absolutely dependent on that, and the fact that you didn't do it on any given day, your day's now ruined. There's no flexibility in that, like you're done, right? So it's like in that regards, you are kind of a slave to that process.
Right.
So just bringing some awareness to where that might be in your life, and kind of acknowledging that, and just giving yourself a little bit of grace. I mean, I think that's the goal, and it is a fine line between like the person who is starting a new habit, got 2 days in, didn't do it, and they're like, oh, it's okay,
Right.
it's still okay, but
Right.
let's commit to this. Let's do this thing. That's when you're being real with yourself, and where like you didn't even give it a shot. So get back on it as soon as you can. So, man. That's a beautiful thing. And, like I was saying, it's amazing how much we'll complain about because we don't want to believe the answers are that simple. And I'm not here saying that a morning routine is going to be the end all be all for everybody, but for myself, and as long as you've known me, and as long as we've been doing these men groups, when we do our daily check-in, it has always been a check-in for me. Because we do these early in the morning, 7 a.m. most of the times, right? And we do these check-ins, and I'm talking about how hard mornings are for me. It's all that I've ever known for a pretty long time, as long as you've known me.
Yeah.
And it was always this anxiety, these ruminating thoughts, and all of this stuff that I was dealing with in the morning. Then I would, get up and take action. A little action goes a long way, and I would start feeling better about myself. But since I implemented my routine back over the past couple months, those thoughts have gone away, I think the underlying feelings that I was experiencing was just a lack of confidence, and when you're pursuing things that are unknown, there's going to be some of that. But I lived in that too much and just ruminated versus getting up and proving to myself that I can do a certain thing. Right. That's how you can't downplay these small little things like going for a walk or doing these things, because you're building confidence every time you do that. Yeah. And yes, I've pulled off some pretty cool things and I've put together some cool things, but those daily things is what really gives you this true sense of self-discipline, persistence, and then also patience. Right. And that's the shit that's needed to do anything great in this life,
I think you nailed it. Self-discipline and confidence. For me personally, I noticed that, I mean, like many people, I've experienced trauma, if you're trying to avoid that trauma, usually we are. I don't want to say that. I am usually trying to avoid the trauma that I've experienced. And a lot of times I wake up with that trauma in mind because I'm trying to avoid that trauma. It's almost like being quiet and having your eyes closed and imagining being walking on a beach and everything's beautiful, but don't think of the elephant that's walking next to you. You just imagine the elephant, right? So I imagine trying to avoid said trauma and trying to move the needle forward being away from said trauma. And what I've learned with myself is I'm living in the past to a degree, by even kind of just waking up in that arena, And so by understanding my internal dialogue, by understanding the way that I speak to myself when I'm in stressful states, by understanding how to congratulate myself during the little wins, how to refrain from being really brutal with the language, how I speak to myself when I slip, because if you're pursuing some dope shit, you're going to slip, you're going to stress. Bro, I honestly model the way I speak to you. Like, I care so much about you and what you're doing and your progress and any stress that you're going through. And any time that I'm aware of it, I'm very understanding of what you're going through, but how I speak to you. I'm very understanding of the words and the language and the energy that I give you. So I'm aware that I can give it to myself. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. And if I'm giving myself anything other than the dope love that I know I'm giving you just by way of your presence in my life, I have to check myself, and that's why journaling helps me understand, because if I read my journal and I'm not speaking to myself by the way I speak to you, I have to ask myself, like, why don't I deserve the same kind of love that I'm giving Jacob?
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's pretty wild to think about, and, because it makes so much sense when you frame it that way, like if you walked into a party, and you got your boy with you and someone comes up talking mad shit to them, be like, oh, you look like a fucking scrub today, dude. Like, like blah, blah, blah. Like, you don't deserve that girl that you're with, like I could swoop on her any moment. Right. Yeah. Like, you're going to step in and you're going to check that fool.
Exactly.
And it's like, but real quickly we'll speak to ourselves in that same way. And it's sneaky too, because it's probably happened all the time.
Covert.
It's very sneaky. And, oftentimes we talk about what got you to point A isn't necessarily going to get you to point B. And maybe that voice got you to where you needed to be because you're operating out of fear, right? You're trying to run away from pain to pursue the things that you're trying to achieve in life. But at some point, it's just not going to get it done, right? You got to reframe that voice and you got to start moving and start getting pulled towards the things that you want to do rather than, running from pain, start seeking out a little bit more of the things that are making you feel good, by pursuing it and just knowing that. And it's kind of, the ice bath is a great way to kind of do that. It's this, one of those, because, I bring that up just because for me, it's a great way to kind of, test ourselves, right? And to build confidence. So much of like the ice bath for me and for the people that around me is like, I really spend a lot of time trying to get them to tie this towards the things that they thought that they couldn't do. And then the feeling of accomplishing that, at some point there's always these things that we think we can't do. And then we do those things and then we build that confidence, right? Same ideas, like whereas like this hip issue that I've been having for months, I didn't think I was ever going to be able to solve it. And then I got consistent on this habit, these morning habits, and I solved that. So now I'm like confident that I can actually change these things about my body, the painful moments, the lack of mobility, whatever it might be. I have that ability now to change these things. And now I'm more confident. And now I'm seeking out what else I can do next. You had a huge transformation in your ice bath experience recently. And talk to me about kind of the difference between the first time you did your ice bath to this next one, and let me know what was kind of going through your head. And
Absolutely. I mean, I want to give myself, which is rarely, I'm gonna give myself a pat on the damn back, because as you said it, first and foremost, bro, I did a lot of reflecting ever since we did that on last Sunday. And for those that haven't understanding what's going on, I got in the ice bath for 3 minutes, which is way long. I think the first time I did was a little over a minute or so.
You was fighting. I feel like you were fighting for 25 seconds.
I was hurting, bro. I was hurting the first couple of minutes. First seconds I was hurting. And so that's big for me. And I got out of the ice the second time. I've only done it twice. Second time was way better than the first. And I wasn't understanding what was going on with me. I'm usually pretty intuitive with what's going on with me emotionally and things. And I was like, well, I feel kind of strange. I'm normally not good with applauding myself. And I had a really good opportunity and a very legitimate reason to. And I had an issue with allowing myself to be proud of myself. And so until you just said it right now, the reason is because there's very few things that I allow myself to accept that I don't think I can do. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. I'm not an arrogant person, but I'm confident enough to know that most of the things that I put my energy to, I can usually move the needle forward enough to accomplish some degree. But that's one thing that I didn't think I could do. That's one thing that I had honestly no intention of trying to push. And it was you had a way of just like, first, I care about what you think about me enough to, like, when you say things to me, I listen, you know what I'm saying? And what was going on through my head the first time was I knew it would be difficult. I wasn't necessarily understanding of how difficult it was. And I got in that ice. And I remember psychologically running through this hallway, and I'm trying to open a door to find a place of comfort. And usually comfort to me is my sons. My youngest son was born with bilateral clubfoot. And so he's endured a substantial amount of pain ever since he was 2 years old until about 2 weeks old till about the 16-week-old mark. Definitely a painful chapter of his life. And so, I remember looking through if this makes any sense. I remember running through a hallway, trying to open a door to find him, to find a way to connect with whatever he must have been going through at that painful age of his infancy, to connect with him and hide in there. You know what I'm saying? And I couldn't find it. And so that was a failure to me, and that wasn't necessarily the means to cope with what I was going through in there. So I was super discouraged. I didn't know how to deal with it, so I just pretty much compartmentalized it. I was like, I don't need to do that again. I don't necessarily want to comprehend what needs to take place to beat that again. Because I tried, bro. I tried the first time. It wasn't like I didn't try.
No, I believe it.
I freaking tried.
I know it.
And so the second time, dude, I'm telling you, bro, I feel like I'm in flow. I felt like it was the right time for me to give that a go. And I was ready to get in that arena again with that. And the first time I got in this time, second time around, and I just locked in on you. I didn't think about anything else. I had shades on. Shades are a sense of comfort for me because I'm super introverted, for those that don't know that. And eye connection and locking in someone's eyes is a way of intimacy and connection. And so when someone can't see my eyeballs, I feel like I can hide in a certain way. Yeah. And so, man, I just locked into your words. I closed my eyes and I just connected with what you were saying, and my breathing. Yeah, no, I mean that's a really great imagery to kind of imagine. When you get into something that's really fearful, you literally are running down this hallway looking for a self-soothing mechanism to open up that door. For you, that was your son. You're over here. You're opening every door you can. You're running head down, very panicked, right? Exactly.
When you can control your breath, it's kind of the difference would be now you're in this hallway and you're looking at the door, and the door says, "Dad, I'm right here," because and you open that door and there it is. Exactly. Because you're you're calm, you're breathing in a way that allows you to not be so fight or flight. The little top down regulations happening. Prefrontal cortex is staying online. You can actually think coherently. And that sign right there is right there. Dad, I'm right here. Boom. Oh, let me open that door. There you are. You know what I mean? You're good.
Yeah.
So that's exactly why it's important to test yourselves and put yourselves in those scenarios. It has nothing to do with recovery necessarily. What I'm talking about, it doesn't have anything to do with recovery. It has to do with getting in that hallway and being able to still read the signs that are right in front of you. And that's the same mechanism of, again, like road rage, all that shit. Like if you're thinking clearly, you're not in pursuit on the 405 because someone cut you off. You're smashing down that closed hallway looking for an outlet. You know what I mean? But if you're breathing, you're calm, you're going to see the sign that says, don't trip. That person has no idea who you are. That was not personal. You know what I mean? It's the exact
100%.
Same thing.
And I'm someone who, at this chapter in my life at 36 years old, I value being calculated. I value being in control of myself as a man, as a male, whatever you want to call it. As I call, as I value being in control of my person. I value not being out of character. Losing control of myself isn't necessarily something I feel is respectful. So that was an exercise of like real control. And I'm super fucking proud of myself, man.
Yeah,
I'm
it was
I'm
amazing.
excited about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's I think some of the, there's not too much of a differentiation between like a psychopath or whatever. Like one of the main differences is going to be just your ability to self-control. So, self-mastery, right? It's like if somebody who's, addicted to porn or whatever, or addicted to sex or whatever it might be, you don't think you and I are having some of those similar like things pop in? Like we walk, we're sitting outside and somebody walks by. You don't think both of our eyes as men are gravitating towards that?
Yeah,
they absolutely are. But we have a level of self-control and where we're not going to go and try to pursue that because, again, we have top-down regulation. We're in happy relationships. We have our people, and therefore it doesn't go any further than that. But if you don't have self-control or, other feelings of inadequacies, you're not going to go and put yourself in that. And I've been reflecting a lot on like my progress with a lot of that, growing up or being young and being married and being in some of these relationships, the shit that I used to do was insane, absolutely insane what I would do. And literally no self-control. You know what I mean? Like every once in a while, like I'll have a dream where I'm kind of back in that mindset, and where it's like, I mean, I don't know if you can think back when you're like in high school, right? When you're younger and just how out of control you are in this desire or this need to like get this girl in this room or whatever it might be, or just like, no, like the dirt that you would do that you absolutely know is so bad, it'd be so bad, like such a character, like bro, you would still do it just because you could not control it. Like you needed to conquer that. Yeah. I
know adults that are on that in that way, like, bro, you have
a lot. I mean, a lot of dudes, man.
You can't control yourself. You know what I mean?
A lot.
Like me and Victoria were talking about this the other day. Like, dude, you can't tell yourself no and listen to yourself. Like ultimately that's what, if you break discipline down, that's what discipline is.
Yeah.
Can you tell yourself no? I'm not going to do this right now, and listen to yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's like wild.
It's crazy.
I mean, especially when you have a lot to lose,
really?
Like you have
real life stuff.
Yeah, for sure. It's so again, just all things that I think about as I try to, step into the person that I want to be, it doesn't, it's a lot of self-control. It's a lot of like figuring out the way that I'm wired and overcoming myself. You know what I mean? Changing that over time and looking back and be like, damn, I was, I make different choices, but that was me making those choices and, celebrating those wins, So yeah, dude, it's awesome to see. And I think as we spend more time together, we're going to be able to look back at some of the things that we're struggling with now and be like, damn, like how can I not get a control of that back in the day? You work with a lot of brands, man, and that's awesome. I'm starting to try to reach out to some different athletes and create a little bit more collaborative efforts here out of Spacebar Wellness. And in doing so, I always want to make sure that's like reciprocated. So we'll talk offline about what some of that looks like. But tell me a little bit about like some of your favorite brands right now that you're working with.
So, I'm just starting a really dope campaign with a company called Jackson's Men's Jewelry. They got some really dope loungewear as well, but expect a dope campaign for that. Father's Day campaign for that is going to come up really soon as well. The Ambrosia Collective is launching a brand new flavor today, strawberry ice cream. If you like strawberry ice cream like I do, man, this flavor is incredible. Plant-based protein, no sugar, independently tested, vegan-friendly. It's dope product
Beautiful.
as well. It's dope stuff. Yeah, man, I'm got a lot of stuff going on. I'm really glad you asked. Thank you for that.
Of course. We'll drop his discount codes in our captions and whatever. So if you guys want to check out any of that, feel free to do that. Support my guy and click those links. But beyond that, appreciate your time, man. Let's get back after it, because, although, sometimes we're living in this Instagram world, we're real people. You got real clients to serve. You got to get back down to Orange County and go service that. So as far as like some of the things I'm working on, obviously Spacebar Wellness, Lifted Botanical Bar, support Nuncio and stepping into some of this like podcast production stuff. And I got a kind of new project that's brewing in my mind that I'm really excited about. Oh yeah, I didn't even mention, we're opening up a second location of Spacebar Wellness, another version of this as we kind of hone in what 2.0 could look like after the pandemic. So really excited to be collaborating with Entity Fitness over in Monrovia, just about 10, 15 minutes away from here in Pasadena. We're going to be heavily focused on body work, getting these hands on you, cupping, scraping, bringing in some mobility classes and events. Like the space is awesome over there. So one of our limiting factors here at Spacebar is that we don't have the biggest amount of space to do these groups of 20, to do different, some of the different modalities or our philosophy around what fitness could look like. So we're going to be doing it over there. So stay tuned. Probably put a little form or something like that, if you're interested in following up on that. But all right, y'all. Until next time, we are out of here. Peace.
Peace.